Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you are probably asking yourself about what you're seeing on this screen. What is going on here? So, I'd like to start this week's video with an explanation. Are you all ready? First, I'm trying something very new in this week's videos and for the next 2 weeks or so. I'm putting two systems together that I'm not sure whether they're going to work. It could be a grand success, it could be an even grander failure. It could be something to go into the Guinness Book of World Records for all I know. I'm going to be putting the Thoth Tarot system and the Continental system together with my Harris-Crowley deck and my Tarot of the Holy Light by the brilliant Christine Payne-Towler. So this is going to be an interesting exploration to see if these two decks will work together. There are some very interesting adjacent qualities about these two decks that intrigue me. They're both very strongly zodiacally based, astrologically based. They're also both very strongly based in the Kabbalah, but in different ways. So are they going to work? We'll see. The second thing is, I'm not in my office, right? If you've watched my videos, you know that this is not my normal video location. I'm in my, well, not my, but I'm working at a summer camp. This is my second year here. This is the fourth camp in 2 years. So there's a winter camp and a summer camp. And this is my second summer camp and my second year. And this is my classroom. And so that's why things look very different. I don't have the same quality of light control. I'm doing this by natural light and it's a very rainy, cloudy day, but I have to take my time where I can because this summer program is very intensive and there's not that much time, especially during the day. I've got time at night, but then there's no light. You know what I'm saying? So it's a very cloudy, rainy day, and so I've got very little light coming through the windows right now, pointing at my face. But we're going to continue. We're going to work through these differences. I don't even want to call them challenges, right? This is a very beautiful place, and maybe the beauty of the environment, what I can see out of this window is magnificent. Maybe I'll take a picture and put that in here so you can see how lovely this environment is. So, friends, I've got a very interesting spread. It's a spread that I've used before. This spread is what I called my elemental spread. I don't know if you remember it. I used it back at the beginning of my deep dive into the Thoth system, and we're almost at the end of that deep dive. After this series of videos, I'm going to be moving on to, yes, Lenormand. We'll see if I can get that to work for us. But this is the very end of my deep dive into the Thoth system. And at the very beginning, or at least near the beginning, I started off with an elemental spread, which was, well, I'll show it to you. So what am I going to do? First, I will show you the entire spread, and I'll tell you basically what it was you saw. I'll explain it to you, especially if you are new here. And then we will break it into its component parts. There should be 1, 2, 3, 4 different components, and I'll explain those in a little bit. And we'll read those components together. Are you all ready? Well, friends, here we go. So friends, that was the elemental spread. And I don't know if you could feel or notice this, but there were 5 major parts to this spread. The central part of 2 cards. When I say parts, major parts, I'm speaking of the tarot cards. And you could tell which were tarot cards and then the 2 oracle cards that flanked the central portion, correct? So in the central portion, there were 2 tarot cards. And those give us the element of ether. That's where we're going to begin the reading. Yeah, element of ether is spirit. It's a message from from the divine, from design. Well, design too, but from the divine. It's the element of spirit, right? And so the ether is where we will begin, which was the central 2 cards. And then in the upper left-hand corner, you saw 2 cards, and those are for the element of fire, which is our passion, which is our creativity, our libido, our sexuality, our leadership. And then in the lower right-hand corner, upper left, lower right, they're opposing pairs. There were 2 cards for water. And what is water? Water is our element of emotion, also our intuition, also the soul of spirituality. Fire can be the spirit of spirituality. Water would be the soul of spirituality. Fire is the more active, so water is the more receptive. And there's a little bit of artistic creativity, especially in the areas of poetry and romance, along with the emotional qualities of water. And then in the upper right-hand corner, we had 2 cards for air. And the air suit is the suit of mind, of our thoughts, of our rational ideas, of our planning, of our communication, speaking with each other. It's also the suit of, or the element of, our vision, perspective, how we see the world, what we see in the future. And then in the lower left-hand corner, we had 2 cards for earth, right? Earth, that's our element for body, our physicality, the physicality of the world. It's also the element for our resources, our money, or other resources like land, property, the stuff we have in our houses. It can also be the element of work, how we manipulate the stuff around us. Yeah? So the 5 elements. Now there are 4 classic elements that I already mentioned: fire, water, air, and earth. Those are the elements for the Western tradition. In the Eastern, the Asian traditions, we have a different 5 elements. Now we have, I have to translate from Korean, yeah? It's fire, water, wood, metal, and earth, yeah? Fire, water, wood, metal, and earth. Interesting, right? In the West, it's fire, water, air, earth. So, fire, water, and earth are common to both. In the West, we have air. In the East, we have wood and metal. But in the West, we also sometimes add a 5th element, which I mentioned, ether. Ether, which was the central 2 cards of air, of spirit, right? So, 5 sections. And then you had 2 oracle cards. Did you see those flanking the 2 central cards? Yeah, those 2 oracle cards will give us some advice. So that's the order we're going to read them in. We'll read the ether section in the center first, and then we'll read the opposing pairs of fire and water together, and then we'll read the opposing pairs of air and earth together. And I'm going to be reading with elemental dignities as well, which means for each one of the elements, for example, fire, there is an element which supports it, which gives it more energy. And the element that gives more energy to fire is air. They build each other up. There's an element that is in contrast to it, that brings it down, that is in conflict with it. Yeah? And that is water. So fire and water, they fight with each other. And then there's one element that's neutral. It neither builds it up nor it tears it down. And that would be earth for fire. Fire and earth, they're simpatico. They can walk side by side. They don't energize each other, but they don't drain each other's energy either. Does that make sense? So I'm going to be reading with elemental dignities, as well as astrology, as well as the Kabbalah when we get to the major arcana. We've got a lot of stuff here, right? So friends, if you're ready to dive in, let me show you the 2 ether cards together right now. Now it's interesting. The 2 cards we got for ether were both from the major arcana from different decks, right? Now one of them was the Thoth deck. the one created by Lady Frida Harris and Aleister Crowley. The other was the Tarot of the Holy Light by Christine Payne-Towler and her husband, Michael. So, we're going to start off with the Crowley deck because we're still in the middle of my deep dive into the Thoth system. We're not in the middle, we're at the end, but we're still in the deep dive. So we start off in spirit with the Death card. Now don't freak out. Death is not a bad thing, especially not in Tarot, and especially not in the Harris-Crowley deck. Now what do we see here? We see a skeleton, but that skeleton looks like, let's call it the skeleton looks like he's dancing, doesn't he? He's dancing with his scythe. And I don't know if you can see them, but there are 3 different animal symbols for the what do we call it? The zodiacal sign that this card is associated with, which is Scorpio. There are 3 animals associated with Scorpio. The scorpion makes sense, but also the snake and the eagle. There are different stages of a Scorpio's development. And sometimes we add a 4th, the phoenix. And you could make an argument that the bird flying off into the distance here in the upper, the upper left-hand corner, that could be a phoenix, but to me it looks more like an eagle. And I think Crowley intended it to be an eagle. So when we see these, we can think of the 3 paths of Scorpio. Yeah? The scorpion, the surrendering to the strain of the environment. Now we accept what is, but we are vigilant. We're ready to move at a moment's notice. Yeah? But we're open to whatever happens. The snake cannot move in a straight line, right? The snake moves in undulations. So for the snake, our progress occurs by give and take. It occurs by the highs and lows, by the undulating of life experience. We move forward, but it's a wavy, rocky, not straight path, right? But then we have the eagle. The eagle soars. Yeah, this eagle rises above the situation and is able to get the bird's eye view. It transcends situations. It can see the big picture. So we've got those 3 aspects of Scorpio, who can rise above, who can move forward, not necessarily in a direct line, but is able to go with the flow, recognizing that we don't have to go in a straight line. And can also, as the scorpion, surrender to the situation, but is primed to act when the moment is ripe. Right? So we've got those things here with death. And death, like I said, is associated with Scorpio, which is the domicile of Mars. So we've got fixed water's vital attributes entering our spread right here. Fixed water. And this card for Crowley. Now, the Tree of Life associations with the Harris-Crowley system, the Thoth system, and the system of Continental Tarot are different. So we're going to read the associations as they are for each system. So for this system, death is associated with the connection of Tiphereth and Netzach. And it's interesting because Crowley, the creator of this deck, Aleister Crowley, sees the death card in a trinity of death, the art card, which is temperance in other decks, right? And the devil. And he sees all of them moving from Tiphereth into the 3 different spots. So for death, we go from, where do we go from? We go from Tiphereth to Netzach. For the devil, we go from Tiphereth to Hod, and then for art we go from Tiphereth to Yesod. So Tiphereth to Netzach with death connects our heart, connects beauty with victory, and that's where we are here. This is beauty and victory connected. The devil card for Crowley connects Tiphereth and Hod, which would connect beauty and our heart with surrender, That's an interesting combination, right? And then the art card connects beauty, the heart, with our foundation, the penultimate step before manifestation, which is a perfect association, I think, for art. Now, the art card again, which is temperance in most other systems. So here we are, death. And death is associated with the Hebrew letter nun, which is a serpent or a fish, very appropriate, I think, for a Scorpio associated card. It's also the faithful one. Nun is also carrying the knowledge from the old world into the new, which implies change. And that's a lot of what this card is associated with. It's change. But because we also have a rune associated with this, we have the rune Perthro, which is decisions. But it's also mystery and prophecy. Yeah, Scorpios, I should say, are known for their prophetic abilities. There's some secrecy here, also a very Scorpio element. There are occult skills, a little bit Scorpio. There's also fertility and partnership. Yeah, and Scorpios are also known for their sexuality too. So we got a lot of good Scorpio attributes associated with Perthro, the rune associated with this card. So there are a lot of strong ties here. Sexuality, prophecy, mystery. We see change. We see faithfulness through change. And carrying what we've learned in the past through the change into the new world. Right? So it's time to face facts with this card. We want to face facts. We want to dance with the coming change. We want to embrace it. That's the message from Spirit. Embrace change. And I think that might be the title of this week's video. Embrace change. And if we start feeling strain during this change, it's because of our attachment to what was. We need to be able to let go of what was and move forward with Scorpio. We want to cut through our fixed ideas and release the comforts from the past to realize something new. The past are the things that we're used to, that we have experienced and we're comfortable with. They are comfortable. And change is often uncomfortable, but we want to be comfortable with that discomfort, if that makes sense. We don't want to fight the change. So we cut through our fixed ideas and we release those things which we've attached ourselves to because they were comfortable. And we allow ourselves to embrace the new, embrace the change, and face the facts of the change. Which is interesting because that card is paired with this beautiful card, which is the Tarot of the Holy Light's Devil card. Doesn't look like a devil to me. Does it look like a devil to you? Now this card is associated with, well, what do we see? We see a mystical creature above, which is kind of an androgen. And that's the Satan figure. And that Satan figure is joining to an elderly looking couple, right? One dark-skinned male and a light-skinned female, joining the two. And we see that the devil is also an androgyne. It's split. Yeah, there's a green head and a human pink flesh-colored head. So there are different aspects of self that are joined here. There's the androgyne aspect here. We got this big peacock feather above, a big peacock fan of feathers above the head of the devil. It's a beautiful card. And according to this system, well, we have the devil associated with Sagittarius, which is the domicile of Jupiter, from which mutable fires, vital attributes are entering our reading. So we have fixed water and mutable fire here in ether. Now, ether does not have an element that is in contrast to it. It embraces all elements. So these are comfortable, right? But we do have a little bit of tension between these two cards. A water card with Scorpio and a fire card with Sagittarius. So there's some potential struggle between these two cards. Scorpio, the death card, we want to embrace change. What do we want to do here? Well, first let's talk about the Hebrew letters. Yeah? And well, this one, sorry, back up a little bit. This card connects Netzach and Yesod, according to this system. Netzach and Yesod. So, this card connected Tiphereth and Netzach, and this card in this system connects Netzach and Yesod. So we're connecting our victory to foundation with this card, which is interesting. So we've gone from the heart, beauty, into victory. Here we go from victory into our foundation, our base for manifestation, which is cool. And it's associated with the Hebrew letter Samek, which looks like a zero, kind of. Or it looks like an Ouroboros. It looks like the snake eating its own tail. And the Hebrew letter Samek is associated with things like a support, like something that supports something else, like a cane would support a person, right? Or a prop, something that will prop another thing up. It can also be a fish, which is interesting, yeah? And there's the idea of the snake eating its own tail, cycles, eternity. Now, we have the rune Algiz, which looks like a Y with an extra little upward pointing bar through the center. And Alkiz is a rune of the horned deity, which actually is a good association here for the devil, right? Although we don't see that kind of horned deity here. Yeah, I don't see horns, but still, that devil image, the horned deity image, is interesting. And the horned deity is a good thing in the runic system, right? It's the god of protection. Not evil, it's the god of protection. It's the god of openness and happiness and life force, which is wonderful. We also have what? The meaning of the card, according to the system of the Tarot of the Holy Light, is that this Satan figure can be seen as an aspect of Sophia, the divine feminine, that emanates from the monad, from the eternal, non-physical, into creating the physical universe. Sophia, it's divine wisdom that creates the material. Yeah? The goddess powers we reawaken here in Trump number 15. And as the goddess power reawakens, it joins self with other. It joins the two. It's a, what is it called? It's a syzygy. Syzygy. S-Y-Z-Y-G-Y. Syzygy. My pronunciation, but still, it joins the two that begins a regeneration. Yeah, the union of opposites. For example, anima and animus in the Jungian system. Yeah, yin yang, or in Korean, yang. The active and passive in the Taoist systems. Maybe the male and female, the hot, the cold, the high, the low. It could be joining things that we don't necessarily think are happy pairs. And perhaps it's not so much the value judgments we think of, such as good and evil. Yeah, but those things that we do not benefit from judging. For example, male, female. We shouldn't be judging one is better, one is less good, right? Equal yet opposites. Those are the things that we're joining here. The hot, the cold. We could also be joining things like Christ and Sophia. Yeah, very large divine concepts. Osiris and Iris. So this is the joining card. It's the solve e coagula, dissolve and coagulate. which is kind of like the art card, but we've got that in this card as well. But we've also got Sagittarius here, which is gives us a lot of desire. Yeah? And that desire, when we focus it, is unstoppable. It's irresistible. It can be overwhelming if not controlled very well, but it's very powerful. And Sagittarius is evolved. It's individuated. It's self-actualized. So we join our opposites. Again, anima animus. In the Jungian psychological archetypal system. We all have an anima, we all have an animus. One is more dominant, but we can join them into a whole, right? We can join aspects of self, conscious and unconscious. Rational and irrational. Irrational in the sense of not as crazy, but in the non-rational. Like intuition as an irrational thought process. So we join those things. So that's what we're doing for the ether. The divine message is what? We embrace change, and as we embrace change, we are challenged with finding our Sagittarian power, our desire, and focusing it to move into the new. We're challenged with joining the opposites and being able to join these two together, the fire and water, the joining indicated in this card, is perhaps the challenge that we're being offered from the divine. Does that make sense? So friends, we're about to move into two new sections of this spread. We're going to look at fire and water together. That'll be a total of 4 cards. Are you ready to see them? Here they are. Friends, you just saw 4 cards together, right? For fire, we had the 4 of Cups and the World card from the Crowley and the Tarot of the Holy Light decks. And then in water, we had the 10 of Swords, and then we had the 6 of Discs there. So remember, the large sections, fire and water, they are not irreconcilable, not incompatible, but they are in tension with each other. And we're going to start off with fire. That's where our passion is. That's where our creativity and our leadership is. So we're going from that change and bringing things together into our fire. So what are we inspired to do? We got a little bit of that Sagittarian inspiration from the Devil card in the Tarot of the Holy Light, right? So maybe this will help us unpack that Sagittarian desire. And we start off with a less than compatible element from the Crowley deck, right? We start off with the 4 of Cups. And this is a beautiful card. Now you see the 4 cups there. Water is beautifully flowing around the 4 cups. The water itself looks pretty clean, yeah? Now the light looks good. Everything looks very healthy. This card is associated with the moon in Cancer, which is perfect because the moon's domicile is Cancer. So we've got cardinal water's vital attributes entering our spread here. Cardinal water. We have fixed water with the death card. Here we have cardinal water. But cardinal water in this element is not all that happy. So we've got some challenges here. And this card itself looks happy. 4s we think are a stable number, right? And yet the title is luxury. And our first modern people, the first thought with luxury is, that sounds wonderful. I would love a luxurious life. But we got to think of the word luxury in its older sense, which is a negative sense, right? In older English usage, luxury was a negative thing. So there's a negative aspect to this card, which says what? Despite success, don't succumb to the feeling of accomplishment. So if we think things are going well, this isn't prophesying a cataclysm, but it is saying, don't get comfortable. If you start resting on your feeling of being in control and everything's going well, so I don't have to do anything, I can just kick back and relax, that's going to be problematic. It's saying to wake up and work. Enjoy the luxury, enjoy the good stuff, but don't take it for granted, because if we get attached to it, we're going to cause ourselves problems. It's going to fade, it's going to disappear. It will escape as soon as we consume this luxury. So don't get attached to it. Allow it to be, enjoy it for what it is, and allow it to dissolve or disappear or be consumed. It's like, eat the cake, enjoy the cake. Don't expect there to be more cake. Because actually, too much cake is not a good thing. Too much luxury is not beneficial for us. And maybe it's time to redefine our objectives. Are we doing the thing so that we can reap the reward, or are we doing the thing because we enjoy doing the thing? And here it's that attachment to reaping the rewards that in the fire suit becomes problematic. It waters down our ability to maintain our inspiration and our desire. And we might be headed for an emotional dead end if we get too attached to this feeling of luxury, because it's unstable. And water's instability is not strong enough to contain itself in the four. Water doesn't have the stability of the four to contain itself. So it washes itself away. So that is a bit of a challenging thing with our passion, our desire, our Sagittarian drive to do, to create, to experience. Yeah? And so, because those are things that Sagittarians love to do, yeah? They're the forerunners. They're the mutable fire of the zodiac. They're the ones who, let's get this all cleaned up and let's move on to the new thing. Let's go. And if you're not with me, I'm going first. I'm going to be the forerunner. I'm going to be the harbinger? No, not harbinger. There's another word for that. But the one who goes out there first. Yeah? And then its pair is very happy in this element. This is the World card from the Tarot of the Holy Light. It's a beautiful card. Don't you love her? Do you see Sophia? Think of her as Sophia standing up on top of the world, is overviewing everything that she's created. An entire universe of beauty. And the World card is associated with the element of fire. Perfect here. And it's associated with the Hebrew letter Shin, which looks like a W, but it's the letter for the tooth, a tooth, or teeth. So it's steadfastness in faith. And it's also being careful with your actions. Remember that Sagittarian force, if it's not focused, can be problematic. So, Shin here is reminding us to be careful with our actions. It's the changeless one, or the one who changes for the better. It's improvement. That is what Shin does for us. It does a lot of other things too. It's a very complex letter in the Hebrew alphabet. Also, we have the rune Laguz, which kind of looks like, as I recall, it looks like half of an arrow. Yeah, and Laguz is the rune for lakes or water. And maybe that'll help us with that luxury element with the Four of Cups beside us, beside this card, I should say. But it's also the rune for energy and renewal and regeneration, for dreams and fantasies. It's the unknown or hidden of the runes. There's a little bit of unknown and hidden in a number of the runes, actually. But it's also the rune for achieving goals, which is perfect for the World card, right? Achieving goals, getting to the end of a cycle. With passion, with inspiration, with creativity. And here again, Sophia is here within creation, and Sophia is here decorating all of creation with all of the beings and the things that have come from divine imagination. Sophia has plucked all of the creative ideas from the divine mind and has placed them perfectly within the physical realm. She sees all of the opposites and reconciles them and is reconciled. She sees them being reconciled. Dark and light, heaven and earth, micro and macroscopic, the big and the small, meaning, right? Reminding us quite a bit of that death card. Where did I put you? Not death card, the devil card. Where did I put the devil? I put the devil around here somewhere. There you are. Reminding us a bit of this card, right? Joining the opposites. Here they are reconciled. They are brought together. And we recognize we have the ability to control ourselves, to control our reactivity. We're able to control our feeling of our stuck thoughts. Have you ever gotten your thoughts stuck? Well, we can fix that. This card tells us, reminds us that we can fix that. And here, the divine light descends to meet us as we ascend to meet the divine. It's the rising up. Of course, in the non-physical, there is neither up nor down, but still, we conceive of us rising up the ladder or rising up the tree of life as the light from the divine comes down to meet us from Kether, and we rise up from Malkut. We have cosmic citizenship attained here. We are beings of the universe. And we enjoy being that. Now we enjoy our cosmic citizenship here. It's a fulfillment card, right? But it's a fulfillment of moving into the liminal space, which will move us back into a new cycle of creativity and generation, which was indicated in the ether section, right? So we've got our passions are being brought together, and we're getting ready for the launch into the new with our passions. But we want to focus and to direct our Sagittarian desires. We want to direct this fire into something. And so we've got two cards for water. Our two cards for water are actually okay in the element. However, they are in conflict with each other a little bit. So there's a lot of challenge within this spread here. The first card we have is the Ten of Swords, which is the card for ruin, according to Aleister Crowley. It's the sun in Gemini. And people who have their sun in Gemini, they're intelligent, they're curious, they're flexible, and they're communicative. But there's that dual nature there, right? Which can help them adapt, but can also tear them apart. But being an air card in water, air and water, they're simpatico. They go well together, right? So that's fine. But the card is ruin. Do you notice the energy that's being released in this card where the 10 swords unite in this tree of life? It's formed into the tree of life. Can you see that? What Crowley says of this card is that the proverbial final nail has been pounded into a coffin dripping with blood. And if you remember the image from the Rider-Waite-Smith card, the figure lying on the ground with the 10 swords actually stamped in the figure's back, and the figure has a red cloak, but that red cloak also looks like blood flowing over the ground. We don't get that here, but we do get that idea. Now, the final nail in the coffin, the last negative thought that seals the deal and causes the ultimate wound. And so, in this card, whatever the topic is, would be best released. And here, what are we going to release? We're going to release the old from the death card, right? The release from the old for us to move happily into the new. So that we're moving on from this painful thought experiment, I think. Otherwise, if we don't release it, it will bring us ruin. If we don't do the action indicated by the ether section, our emotions, now this is mind in the water, right? This is our thoughts affecting our emotions will bring us ruin if we don't let it go. So we want to remove disruptive elements, or no good can come of anything that happens. Remove the disruptive elements, remove those negative thoughts, whatever the topic is that we've been obsessing over. If we have been obsessing over anything, it's time to let it go, or it's going to bring us it's going to cause us to crash and burn. And this card is paired with the Six of Discs from the Tarot of the Holy Light, right? Six of Discs is an earth sign, or earth element, I should say. Now, earth and water build each other up. So this card is empowered by being in the water section. However, earth and air are opposites. They are in conflict. So this card is strong, and that might help us to overcome the difficulty of this card. Maybe. Let's see. The Six of Cards is associated with Venus in Taurus, right? With Venus in Taurus, which is perfect because Venus is domiciled in Taurus. So we get the fixed aspect of we get the fixed aspect of fixed Earth's vital attributes entering our world, entering our reading. Because this would be the first decadent of Taurus. So the Taurus decadent of Taurus is the fixed aspect of fixed Earth's vital attributes. So it's a lot of stubbornness potential here, which was not something that we would normally think of as beneficial for change. But what does this card tell us? Well, we can see the image of platonic solids here. Do you see those from the world of science? And they're surrounded by the beautifully creative chaos of nature. So the images here within the spheres, they are platonic solids, and they're organized, they're scientific, but we have the vegetation of nature, which is human rationally orderly, right? To the human mind, to most human minds, it looks irrational, it looks chaotic. Now, to the divine mind can see the order in it all. But to us, we can sometimes see disorder in nature. And so it's that science within the chaos of nature. What is this telling us to do? It's telling us to learn our worth. Yeah? Venus brings us beauty, brings us relationship within the earth element. So we want to learn our worth, learn how to turn our life to profit, to financial gain, to manifest successful ideas. So that's a good thing. There's benefit to money in society that is healthy with mutually beneficial exchanges. So we can exchange resources, not only money, exchange resources to our benefit. We can see the value of ourselves and our ideas, and we can see the potential for bringing them into manifestation in this card. It's the economy of an ethical society with honest values. And that society can be the large society of our country, of our city, or a smaller society of our family with good values, honest values, ethical ways of being in the world. We want to be honest. And that's going to be important when we look at the oracle cards later, from what I recall. So, the challenge here, what is the challenge in the water? The challenge is that our thoughts are not our friends. And yet, if we are organized, if we can organize our minds, we can discern those rational, those scientific, those good ideas with potential that can be brought into manifested reality, done ethically, done in exchange with others, done in community. And the sixes of beauty and of relationship with Venus, right? So we want to clean this up to be able to do this. But remember, these two are not harmonious, naturally harmonious. But again, we want to, just like the devil card in the ether, be able to bring these two actions together into one cohesive whole in our emotions. Our thoughts in our emotions and our ability to manifest our thoughts in the emotional sphere, in our intuitive sphere. Maybe we can engage our intuition to be able to do this, right? To be able to let the past go and carry forward with those beneficial ideas, those beneficial thoughts, the beneficial urgings from the Six of Discs, to be able to bring them into manifestation in relationship with others. In our society, whatever that society is, great or small, macro society or micro society. That makes sense, yes? Okay, so we're moving forward into the next set of 4 cards for air and earth. Are you ready to see those? Here they are. So friends, this is very interesting. Yeah, in the air section, we had 2 cards, the 4 of Discs and the 4 of Swords. Now, this is the air section, right? Discs are earth, right? And so the air and earth elements in this first card are not simpatico. Yeah, they are in an antagonistic relationship. But this is a beautiful card. This is the 4 of Discs from the Thoth Tarot, which gives us the Sun in Capricorn. Now, we've had the Sun previously. I'm sorry, let me look at my paper. This is a lot of information, I know. It's a lot of information for me too. Now, we had the Sun in Gemini, right? With the 10 of Swords. Here we've got the Sun in Capricorn. The Sun in Capricorn. Now, this is interesting for a couple of reasons. One is, this is Capricorn. This is Aquarius. Now, the next card that we're going to be seeing, the 4 of Swords. Christine Payne-Towler associated the 4 of Swords with Aquarius. Both of these cards are the domicile of Saturn. So we've got a lot of harshness here, but a lot of potential harshness here, at least running around in the background. Now, Capricorn, we've got the Sun in Capricorn here, but Capricorn is the natural domicile of Saturn, so we've got some Saturn energy here. The 4 of Swords, we have the second decanate of Aquarius, so we've got the Gemini decanate of Aquarius, which gives us Mercury in Aquarius. However, Aquarius is the domicile of Saturn, and that means we have a complement here of Saturn in Cancer. So that's interesting too. So we've got a little bit of Saturn, which is what? It's rules, it's order, it's boundaries, it's time, it's cutting off time and separating time, and putting things in its place and being strict and being regular and all of those Saturnian things, right? Which are okay for air. They can be beneficial for air. But again, we've got here the Sun in Capricorn. What do people who have the Sun in Capricorn, what are their qualities? Well, they're people who enjoy the power of structure and order in matter. They're the ones who like to, they're able to work with other people, but they're working with other people in order for themselves to climb up to the top of the mountain, to succeed, to get to the top, right? So this card, though problematic in the air suit, problematic in the element of air, this card is a beautiful card. It's a card of manifestation, of integrity and character. We see a castle here, right? A fortress, let's say, instead of a castle, a fortress with 4 towers. And those 4 towers all have the elements, the 4 elements. So this one fortress is bringing forth all of the 4 elements to manifest. And it's also a way for us to communicate to the angels through these towers. There's another aspect of that here. So this is the, again, card of manifestation, of integrity, of character, having strong, stable character. It's our ability to organize and make arrangements, which would be wonderful in the air suit, but air is not that concrete. This is trying to make our thoughts concrete, and sometimes it can be a little bit of a struggle. We have the ability to negotiate, to make agreements, to create accord with other people. And this is a 4 of stability that is not stationary but in movement. Yeah, materials flow in and they flow out. Things come in, they manifest, and they go out. There's an ecosystem of resources that flow in and flow out, right? Rather, where the 4 of Pentacles, which would be a similar card in the Rider-Waite-Smith system, is the greedy one. It's the one who holds on and hangs on to resources. This is one of again, ecosystems of flowing resources. Not stationary, but in movement. Not stagnant. Not greedy. And yet we want to make certain of our friends. We want to make sure that there are no disagreements and there's no ill will between us and our friends in this card, because those things can grow and blow out of proportion. We want to bring everything to rest. Then we will have the necessary power to gain what we want, to manifest what we want. And we'll be able to be more dependable if our relationships are stable. So, our minds might not here be able to really reconcile with this very easily. And so we've got the next card, which I think comes in to help us reconcile. Perhaps with the Saturnian the Saturnian Capricorn here, with the Saturnian Aquarius here. Maybe this card is here to help us. How? Again, we have the mutable aspect of fixed air's vital attributes entering our reading here. Mutable aspect, which is Gemini, of fixed air, which is Aquarius. Fixed air's vital attributes entering our reading. Gemini decadent of Aquarius, giving us Mercury, which is a little bit flighty. But we've got Saturn in Cancer, so we've got Saturn here in our relationship, in our cardinal water aspect. So we've got a little bit of a boost of Saturn in this card. And what do we see here? We see the androgyne freed from the imbalances of incarnated form. The androgyne, do you see the body, the figure lying on the stone bed or tomb, yeah, has 2 heads, one male, one female. The androgyne is freed here. And here we are left with the face that we had before we were born. It's our original face, the face of our soul, of our spirit. The pre-incarnated us is here. And we might benefit from going on a pilgrimage. Whereas in the Rider-Waite-Smith system, we often think of the 4 of Swords being of resting and staying in one place and recuperating and gaining our health. Here we're actually called to go on a pilgrimage, to move out into the world, or move out to find a center. So we might do that by doing an actual pilgrimage out into the world, or doing an inner pilgrimage to find our center. and leaving behind all old identifications, which will help us with the message we got from Ether, right? Leaving behind, moving on, focusing our desires into the new. We rediscover our purpose here. Now we liberate energy and we rediscover our purpose. Now, Christine Payne-Towler, I quote from her book here. "Let me cooperate with all the good things that flow to me from all the souls whose labors brought me here. May I stop fighting my essential nature and cooperate with all that is good and recognize that all that I'm receiving from all of those beings that brought me here, both the physical beings of my family, my friends, but also the non-physical beings of spirit, if you believe in holy guardian angels, or whatever your concept of the non-physical beings of this non-physical world that the physical world exists within. All those beings are here to support us and have brought us here in cooperation with ourselves, right? So that will help us. Finding our center, leaving behind identifications, recognizing who we were before we had all of this experience of physical life in these beautiful bodies that we are co-creating. And we can liberate ourselves and rediscover. And if we do that, I think that will make the work of this card much more possible. And will soften the conflict between earth and air. Does that make sense? Now we're going to move into the water suit right now. And I dropped one of my cards. Just a second. We are back. I'm sorry. The card that I said I dropped, well, it flew farther away from me than I thought it did. So it took me a little bit to get out there, find it, and bring it back. I don't know if you've ever experienced cards that drop to the ground and then go sliding off into the netherworlds. So we're here, back, with the suit of earth. Not the suit of, the element of earth. And in the element of earth, we have two cards from the same suit, which are, those two cards are water, right? They're both cups, which is cool. Water and earth build each other up. So here we are in earth, in our manifestation, in our physical form, and our emotions and our intuition are here to prop up, to boost, to energize our work. And our work is here to energize and prop up and build up our emotional lives. And we've got two pretty cool cards here too, right? We have the Six of Cups from the Thoth deck. And you see those 6 cups? They're beautiful, beautiful. The energy flowing, the water flowing. The water is clear. The cups are glimmering. And this is the card of pleasure. And here we have the sun again. Now this time the sun is in Scorpio. So we had the sun in Cancer, we had the sun in Gemini, now we have the sun in Scorpio. Which means what? Well, people who have the sun in Scorpio, Scorpio is my ascendant, full disclosure, yeah, but people who have the sun in Scorpio are perceptive, they're magnetic, they're a little bit secretive. Everybody says they're hypersexual, but they're also, and they're interested in death. That doesn't mean that they're out to kill people. That means they're interested in the process of death and rebirth. And those deep, occult aspects of the change from one life to another. From one form to another. Does that make sense? That doesn't mean that Scorpios are out there ready to kill people. It means they're interested in that transformation that happens in the process of death and rebirth. And yet, with the sun in Scorpio here, Crowley gives us a lot of very positive ideas. It's the beginning of a wish. Perhaps the wish for the new cycle of life, right? The beginning of a wish. Ease, harmony, and diplomacy. We had a little bit of an indication that our ability to do diplomacy would be beneficial for us, right? Here that is echoed once again. Steady increase is also indicated here, as well as emotional renewal. And we had that idea of emotional renewal in the Four of Swords as well, only that was more of an intellectual renewal, the renewal of purpose, the renewal of discovering who we were before we were born. Here it's an emotional renewal, a regeneration. The summer sun on the ocean when we're on holiday, that kind of restorative renewal. And here, pleasure. The pleasure of this card can be increased by sharing it with others. And we had that idea of working with others in other cards in this spread as well. So that's all wonderful. And that is bolstered by this very interesting card from the Tarot of the Holy Light, the Four of Cups. Now, this card is a little less stable. And remember, we had the Four of Cups from the Thoth Tarot above, right? And that Four of Cups was in our fire section, in an uncomfortable place. Here, the Four of Cups from the Tarot of the Holy Light is in a comfortable place, is with the earth. And because this is the Tarot of Holy Light, instead of it being associated with the moon in Cancer, the Four of Cups here is associated with the Pisces decade of Scorpio. We got Scorpio again. So we have the second decade of Scorpio, which gives us Jupiter in Scorpio here. So expansion within the water. But because it's the second decade, we have a complement, which is Mars in Libra. And Libra and Aries. Libra and Aries are opposites. And that is going to be echoed a little bit when we get to the two oracle cards. Yeah, Libra in Aries. I'm sorry, Mars in Libra. Mars, which is domiciled in Aries, is here in Libra, where it wouldn't naturally be. So, what do we have here? We have the mutable aspect of fixed water's vital attributes entering our reading, entering our natal charts. So here, our expansion can lead to a disengagement or a disorientation. Yeah, that expansion can cause a loss of focus, a loss of containment. And that was a little bit indicated in the Crowley card, if you recall. We lack the fire of our natural pairing with Aries here, because it's immersed in all of this expanded water, right? It's a chance of losing our power and agency, which combined with this pleasure card reminds us of how Crowley saw the Four of Cups, where, yeah, enjoy the luxury, but don't get attached to it. Keep on working. So if we get too immersed in the emotions here, we could lose our direction. There is a path to the bright shining sun here. There's a potential finding that path, but we gotta stay on the path. We don't want to allow ourselves to get lost in the expanded water. And we might be forgetting the turbulence we perceive at this time in this wavy ocean of expanded water, that we're the ones who created that expanded water. We're the ones who are causing our own turbulence. So we have the potential to fix that. How do we do that? We do what the ether said above, right? We let go of all of those things that are holding us back. And we get ready. We get our fire focused and we move into the new. We bring the fire and water together, not one getting lost in the other, not allowing the water to be burned up in the fire, and not allowing the fire to be drowned out and killed in the water. But we want to bring them together as complements rather than as opponents. Does that make sense? So friends, this is a really intense reading. I'm curious, what do you think so far? Do you see these two decks working together and communicating with each other well? I think they do. And I'm not sure I would do this often, but I think it's an interesting exercise in bringing two very different systems together. Now, we have a little bit of help from two oracle cards that are going to give us some advice, right? Let's take a look at those two oracle cards right now. Friends, we have two cards here that will give us some advice. Yeah, we have the card number 7 from the, I didn't mention what the names of this deck is, what the name of this deck is. This is the Oracle of the Radiant Light, and it's a wonderful astrologically based oracle. And I've been using it for a lot of my deep dive into the Thoth system. So here we are with number 7, Choice, which is Mars in Libra. Remember I mentioned Mars in Libra just a moment before. Here we have Mars in Libra for this card. So that's interesting, right? That was the complement for the 4 of Cups. Mars in Libra here again. And then we have number 9, Discrimination, which is Venus in Virgo. Yes, Venus in Virgo. And if you know me, you know that I get those two words confused. I sometimes try to say Virgo and Venus comes out, but that was Venus in Virgo. But we'll start off with number 7, Choice, which is Mars in Libra. Again, Mars naturally placed in Aries, Libra, opposite signs, right? On the zodiacal wheel. But here we see what? We see 2 women down there at the bottom. One of them is blind justice, and the other is a woman watching the balance as it moves, as the scales come into reconciliation. Above we see a rose, and that rose reminds us of the balance between beauty and the sharpness of the thorns, right? Beauty and danger, or beauty and pain. Now we also see a pair of legs in what looks like some kind of what do we call those? The things that will it's a kind of binding tool, right? Where people their arms and head go through one thing, a pillory, yeah? And then the legs go through another thing. This is the part with the legs. So the legs here are a symbol of difficulty of movement. So we've got balance here, we've got justice and balance. We've balance that is in motion, maybe, not a fixed balance. We've also got the balance of beauty and the thorn of the rose. And then we've got an element here of not being able to move very well. So Libra opposite Aries can indicate strong mood swings. Yeah? And those strong mood swings are not going to be helpful for us right now. So we want to focus instead on cooperative work, working together with other people. We want to follow the rules. But we want to be careful. Just because we're following the rules, we might be expecting that other people are going to be following the rules just as well as we are, and that might be expecting too much. And it could lead us to a lot of anger. Well, I'm doing it the right way. Why isn't everybody else doing it you know what I mean? Yeah. So, follow the rules, but be careful of expecting everybody else to do the exact same thing that we are. Or that they have the same impression of what the rules are, right? We may enjoy argument too much right now. We want to choose our battles wisely. Don't engage in arguments just for the sake of arguing. because it could be a temptation for us right now. We want to be careful of becoming bossy. We don't want to do that either. We want to work well with other people. Because when balance is lost, it's going to start... Have you noticed a balance that starts... If you tip one side, it moves a little bit, and then sometimes the other one moves this way a little bit, and then it moves a little bit more, and then it moves a little bit more, and it starts to swing, and it starts to get even more off balance. That's something we want to be careful of. Just a little bit of getting out of balance can cause things to swing beyond our expectation, right? Can cause a much greater disturbance than that first little bing movement out of balance. Impulsive actions might be taken, but we want to be prepared for great mistakes if we act impulsively. Act on impulse, but be aware of potential pitfalls, big pitfalls at this time for us. Still, we might be called upon to make a difficult choice here. So is this next card going to help us a little bit? I think it is. We have this beautiful image of Venus out in the world. And this card came up for us 1 or 2 weeks ago. And here we have Venus in Virgo. So we have the fixed aspect of mutable Earth's vital attributes entering our reading. Fixed aspect of mutable Earth. Because this is the the Taurus decadent of Virgo. The Taurus decadent of Virgo. So that would be the third decadent, right? Yes. And in this picture, we see a barefoot woman in a neat countryside reaching for butterflies. There's a barking fox. So the butterflies and the fox remind us that Virgo cares for and rules all the small, delicate creatures of the universe. So we're caring for the small, beautiful things around us, and small, beautiful beings around us. So as we work with each other, with other people, we want to be ready to care for them, but not be bossy. Right? We don't want to move into that bossy aspect of Mars and Libra. And yet we might still have dangers here. We might have the danger of over-analyzing emotions. And yet, analyzing our emotions is beneficial. It will help us. It can help others. We might be analyzing the emotions of other people, but we don't want to overanalyze. We don't want to move into what they call analysis paralysis, right? We want to be a little selective about who we are going to give our emotions, our affections to, but we don't want to be too picky either. We want to have a good balance. Be careful, but not too picky about everything. And analyze a little, but not too much. Be selective, but not too much. And relationships centered on work and health are beneficial for us right now as well. Good working relationships, good relationships with people we exercise with and cook with and live with. Harmonious and beautiful work environments will be beneficial for us as well. Take care of your working space. And be selective and use good discretion in order to attain what we want. Yeah? Follow the rules, don't be bossy. Be selective about who we're interacting with, but not too selective. Analyze a little bit, but don't overanalyze. Now, if we keep a good balance according to these two cards, I think we'll be able to move through the situations and the experience that is indicated in the larger spread from this week, right? And what was that larger spread indicating? Well, again, that was indicating the balance between, or the association of death and the devil. It's a fascinating thing. And I think this is a fascinating reading. And if you think so too, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. I'd love to hear what you got out of this. Tell me. And thank you. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up button. Thank you for subscribing. If you have not already done so, thank you for doing that now. You help other people find the channel when you do that. And you get notifications of when I upload videos. Also, if you want a reading from me, my email address is below. Shoot me an email. We'll get you a reading. Short ones, I can do short ones too. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.